I've just hit my finger. It's been quiet today, and we did go out this afternoon for a short trip down to Action so I could get a frame for my picture. I finished. I wasn't going to show you it actually until it was in the frame, because it will look better in the frame, because pastels are quite messy, and so until they're framed and all the mess around the edges cut out, it doesn't look so good. I reached a point of thinking, okay, that's it, I'm done. That often happens with me. So it's a bit naive, but it's done. And I had a little bit of help from Cleo for this bit. I couldn't do this twirly bit, so that she's got to put it in the frame, because these bits around the edges are in danger of being lost, because under the passepartout. So she'll sort that out for me. So we went and bought that in Action. We bought the frame, and I bought a peanut brittle and a sesame brittle, and Mark bought some refills for his cartridges for his electric toothbrush, and it all came to €7. It's so cheap in there, it's unbelievable. I was really surprised. So yeah, we did that this afternoon. We both had I had a rough night. He didn't have such a rough night. I said to him this morning, I said, you had a better night? He said, oh, did I? What about you? I went, well, obviously I didn't, otherwise I wouldn't have known you'd had a better night. I don't know what, I was up I think I was up just a bit, 10 to 6, but I'd been awake for ages. It's bending now. I've been awake for ages, so I've been struggling on and off in the day between staying, trying to stay awake. Talking on the vlog, the road trip vlog, about the good thing about getting old and forgetting what you've read or what you've watched. And I'm rattling through my latest Alexander McCall Smith book, the number one ladies detective agency, because it's such a comfortable, easy read. And I was thinking, what am I going to read next? And I like his style, and I knew that I'd read something of his before. And I looked on Amazon, and I'd read 44 Scotland Street, but I have read it because I looked at Goodreads and it says that I've read it. I have no memory of it. So annoyingly, I probably read it so long ago that it was when I was still reading paperbacks before I had my Kindle. And it's likely that I picked it up at the Hope Shop, and it's very likely the copy that I had has gone back to the Hope Shop. So I'm going to have to download it to my Kindle when I'm ready. But there's several books on there in that series, so that'll keep me going for winter and spring. Quite happy about that. I like getting hooked into an author and binging. I did that with Jodie Picoult, and I'd done it with Stephen Smith. I mean, they're all sort of very different, aren't they? But I shall just have a bit of a binge on 44 Scotland Street for a while, I think. It was really cold this morning. It was -5 overnight. White, very white out there when we got up. I wasn't looking, all the shutters were closed, but when I got up, when Mark got up and opened the shutters, it was still very white. I haven't been down to the chickens. He's been really busy today. He's just amazed me at the transformation, and he doesn't remember how he was before his knee. So the transformation is just incroyable. He goes down and does the chickens. He was still doing that in the mornings, sometimes going down and doing the chickens, but he goes down and does the chickens. He has sorted out the washing that needed folding. he unloaded the dishwasher today. He brought in a load of wood. He went down and put the chickens away this evening. Something, and he's been on his bike. He's been cycling in the garage. It doesn't go anywhere. It's static. It's sitting on a training stand. But he did at least 10 minutes on that, and I'm just amazed and so pleased, so pleased. He said I don't ask him about it because I want to wait and see what he decides. I think he said several weeks ago that he wouldn't have his left knee done, even though it's in the same, on the x-ray it looks the same as the right knee looked. But he's waiting. He said when the surgeon spoke to him the other week, and said that you have to wait at least 6 months anyway before we would consider doing another one. He said he wants to wait and see how it is and see how it, whether he can work around it. So I think that's what he's going to do. So it'll be interesting to see if he does it again. For him going through it, obviously it was hard, and for me on the outside, I was surprised at how quickly he was recovering, but I wasn't him, and I wasn't dealing with what he was dealing with, and it's easier, isn't it, on the outside. I'd like him to have the other one done, just so that he is more physically fit, but he seems really fit at the moment, so I'm really happy about that. What else was I going to tell you? I'm sitting at the table, you're sitting on a kitchen roll. I've got you there's a thing that I use, there's a clamp. I normally clamp in front of the Mac, but it was clamped to the table, and I've had to sit it on a kitchen roll though, because it's right at a long stretch, so it wasn't sort of sitting up high enough. So I thought I'll sit you on top of the kitchen roll that was on the table where we sat net. Don't know what else I was going to say. What is it? Friday, tomorrow. Nothing going on this weekend. I made it's mutton I was cooking with. It's mutton. It's the remains of the last of the mutton. The stew was lovely, and I took the meat off the bone. It cooked quicker because I don't normally cook lamb stew. It's normally beef stew, which takes obviously a lot longer to cook. So it was actually ready by lunchtime. I took the meat off the bone, and there was quite a bit of meat, so that was fine. It was certainly a big enough meal for both of us, for two. It wasn't normally when I do a beef stew, it's like I do a batch cook, but this was just enough for one meal. And I was talking about Mum making lamb stew, and I remember she used to call it scrag end of neck, and I'm thinking, I need to look that up really and work out what part of the lamb that is. I think what I'd got in French, it was collier. So I think it was, sort of the lower neck as it sits on the shoulders, and maybe scrag ends a bit higher up. But my memory of my mum's lamb stew was a plate of bones with a watery gravy and some carrots. And that sounds awful. And but I remember it. It was memorable, and I'm not sure whether it was memorable because it was so lacking in substance, or whether we had it more often to make it memorable. But I certainly have never remembered it with pleasure, because I can remember often leaving the table having not felt satisfied, and I often think that has aided my issues around obesity, that I wasn't satisfied. My appetite wasn't satisfied very often as a child. I think part of the problem was Mum was brought up during, what was she during the war? She was about 14, 15, 16. So she came up through rationing. And I have to get this the right way around, during rationing in Britain, the people were well nourished but undernourished. So well nourished meant that they were given the optimum quality of food. I mean, obviously the food quality wasn't brilliant, but the diet was very specifically worked out about how much everybody needed, but they were undernourished. So Mum didn't learn to cook in an environment where food was abundant, and my experience at different times during my life living with my mother was that she didn't understand what was enough. And the difficulty for me now is that the part of my brain that says that I'm greedy is telling me, well, yeah, but it may have been enough, but it just wasn't enough for you because you're greedy. So there's that whole voice going on in your head. And I know that voice is bollocks. I know that it is bollocks, but it's still there. Yeah, but so I can remember then as a 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old, still living at home, coming home. And I think the problem then was that Dad was being fed at the police station. So he would have his main meal at lunchtime at the police station. Wherever Mum was working, I think maybe she had her lunch. I don't know. Viv was at school, so Viv was having a school meal. So I'd come home and Mum would fetch through. Mum would fetch through for my tea a plate with a sausage and a spoonful of beans on it. And that was my tea. And honestly, it was a chipolata. It wasn't even a big sausage. It was a thinner, chipolata and a spoonful of beans. I hate beans. And that was it. And I hadn't eaten. I'd had a sandwich or something at lunchtime because I wasn't working in a place where you could buy, where there wasn't a canteen. Yeah. Yeah, what was I talking about? I was talking about the lamb stew, wasn't I? So yeah, it was, anyway, so it was mutton stew. And then I did the rolled breast poitrine, which I stuffed and rolled, and I rolled it in tinfoil. And when I took it out of the oven to have a look at it and unroll it, it just unrolled. So I've got a flat piece of poitrine with stuffing spread across the top of it. It's in the fridge, and I shall find a way of serving it up with something tomorrow. It'll be fine. I tasted a bit of it. It tasted fine. It's just going to look odd on the plate. I think you're supposed to serve it in rolls, But anyway, it'll be nice. So that's what we'll have tomorrow. Yeah. That's it, really. I hope you've had a nice day. I hope you're waking up to a nice day. Those of you on the other side of the world. So we're in the depths of winter still. So you're in the depths of summer. It's not called the depths of summer. What is it called? The height of summer. So it must be very hot. Yeah, we're in the depths of winter. And I can't see the temperature gauge now. My chair's in the way. I'm going to drop down to -4, I think, overnight. And the temperature on the fire is dropping. So I need to go and have a look at that. Okay, take care. Have a nice day. See you next time.